call the meeting to order. Please stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
Okay, roll call, Ken.
Alberts,
Here.
Cooper.
Here.
Ferguson.
Here.
Latin.
Here.
Polly.
Out of town.
Janelli. Not
At
here.
a PTO somewhere.
Matrina.
Here.
Petrofessa.
Private.
Taversack.
Yeah.
Tranzilla.
Here. So, hi, everybody, and you're all here. I have to push this. Hi, everybody, glad you're all here. I'm gonna ask everybody here to look at where's the camera that we're looking to wave hi to the people that are watching from home. I am pressing a button. Oh, over here, press the button, no, wait, hi. And that's to some of our newer members that were just elected that are watching us on television. Sal? We're waiting for Sal. We're waiting for Sal to come back.
I'll be back in a minute.
Okay, good. Nobody's in a big rush, right? Nobody's in a big rush. I think this is, I'm gonna have to leave it open. I'm sorry. The board welcomes public participation and asks the speakers please limit their comments to 3 minutes. Speakers may offer objective comments of school operations and programs that concern them. The board will not permit any expression of personal complaints or inflammatory comments about the Board of Education personnel and students, nor against any person connected with the Danbury Public School System. I have the list of the people that have signed up. Haley, I can't pronounce your last name, Haley, where are you?
Cosman's here.
I'm sorry?
Cosman's here.
All right, would you step up to the table and talk to us? Do we have a microphone for that table?
We do.
Oh, it's there, I'm so sorry.
They're speaking behind.
Okay.
Oh, so you're not doing it one at a time? You're gonna do, all right.
We're just taking turns.
I'm sorry?
It's all about the same topic. It's just.
Oh, all right, that's good. Okay, that's fine.
You don't have to push down, so.
Oh.
Introduce yourself and go.
Okay. I'm Haley Cosmantier, and this is Sabrina Michael Duncan and Cindy Pena. And we're from the Danbury High School Social Psychology class. And we're also here with Ms. Dioria. To the board members of Danbury High School District. We are here from Danbury High School in pursuit of the truth by advocating for the change of the nationally celebrated holiday of Columbus Day to Indigenous Peoples Day. We would like to begin by stating this is not about disrespect, but about giving respect where respect is due. Columbus Day was founded in 1937 by President Franklin D. Roosevelt in response to the Knights of Columbus and the Italian-American community. However, the foundations on which this holiday was founded was false, and by celebrating Columbus Day as it is, schools are teaching children to reward a man with a legacy of untrue and fabricated accomplishment. We are celebrating a man whose legacy is based upon lies. A man who 500 years before even being born was beaten to North America by a Viking by the name of Leif Erikson. A man who, upon arriving to his destination, settled in the Caribbean islands, not North America. A man who could not have discovered that the earth was round, when in the 6th century BC, philosophers like Aristotle and Pythagoras had already written that the earth was a sphere. A man who, by allowing his name to encompass this celebrated holiday, memorizes actions that led to genocide, human trafficking, the spread of mass disease, death, and destruction, which we, as American citizens, have been fighting against since the beginning of the civil rights movement. If we say we are a nation built upon justice and truth, then we cannot continue to glorify the name of Christopher Columbus for all the things he did not do. By instead celebrating Indigenous Peoples Day, we acknowledge the existence of Native Americans who made history on American soil long before Europeans set foot here. If our country is founded on truth, we must take ownership of the destruction it took to get us to this point in history. If our country is founded on truth, we cannot build on top of lies. We need to take ownership of the past that is our rightful history. This is our world, and we have the power to shape it. If not us, someone else will. So far, Columbus Day has been changed to Indigenous Peoples Day in cities such as Portland, Oregon, Albuquerque, New Mexico, St. Paul, Minnesota, Olympia, Washington, and Bridgeport, Connecticut. The Federal School Board of District, the City School Board in Bridgeport, unanimously voted Tuesday night to do away with the federal holiday in favor of Indigenous Peoples Day, and the board member Kate Rivera proposed a move, asserting students should be taught the true history, not the falsehood that Columbus was a hero. If they can make the change, so can we.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm hoping that someone has told the students that we don't comment on the whole participation. We just listen. Oh, thank you. Alrighty, is there anyone else in the, I'm sorry, is there anyone else in the room that would like to speak? No? Seeing none, we're gonna move forward. All right, Kathy, the consent calendar?
A motion that the Board of Education approves the items on the consent calendar exhibits 15-170 through 15-171 as recommended.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Ferguson. Any questions, discussions? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Passes, thank you. We'll now move into our student representatives. Oh, no, we're not, I'm sorry. I'm jumping right over my big project. Our employee representatives are here. We have the Academy of International Studies. We have teachers or someone from the Academy here to speak. Okay, seeing none. I know we have people from Danbury High School because I know their faces. They're here, and the representation from Danbury that's speaking is Julia. Please come and introduce yourself, sir.
The mic should be on.
With apprehension, does this sound right?
Yes, it is.
Thank you. I will try not to gesticulate too much. My name is Joe Goss. I am a social studies teacher at Danbury High School, and I am also the building chair for NEA Danbury High School. And I certainly have a few things to bring up tonight. And first, I thank everyone for asking us, especially the chair, Eileen Alberts, for actually bringing us here and inviting us to speak. We certainly appreciate it. You can see from the number of staff sitting here that we are all very eager to be able to open these channels of communication and talk about issues and things. Well, to begin with, kudos to Mr. Ross and the Hatteras Herald for another excellent addition here. And as you can see, it starts with Mr. Boccaccio. Boccaccio says, DHS will forever be in his heart, principal's retirement resonates with students, staff, and faculty. And then inside it goes on to say, Boccaccio has always put students first. And that's one of the things that teachers and staff at the high school have been sort of keeping their eye open to. What's going to happen that this was the last year that Mr. Boccaccio was serving us at the high school. And of course, we're quite pleased to hear the positive news that Mr. Donovan will be our next principal next year. And that was certainly met with a positive response in the high school. And it's quite interesting to note, and the newspaper picks up quite a bit of it, that Mr. Boccaccio was the first principal since Mr. Getz left in 2003 to actually carry a class from its 9th grade year all the way through to graduation, which does speak volumes about many, many different things. We, the teachers, are certainly grateful for the stability and the continuity that Mr. Boccaccio has brought to the high school. The students certainly appreciate him as well. In here, there are comments about, in the photo, about how Mr. Boccaccio is always there in the morning when they have to get off the school buses, how he comes up with his announcements in the morning about take your headphones out, take your earphones out, take your cell phones out, all that kind of stuff. And at the end of the day, there he is back at the buses again, saying goodbye to the students and bringing them home and seeing them off as they go home. In particular, in here, they also mentioned they will really remember how he came into advisory classrooms and how he would smile and wish them well, maybe a season's greeting or have a nice vacation and things like that. And especially, which struck me, they said that they felt safe after Mr. Boccaccio was there with them, carrying us through the rather difficult times of Sandy Hook and those events. And they really appreciated his leadership there. We know Gary loves the school and loves his students. Quotes like, "He has always put us first while on the job," said a student. On this third page here, perhaps a slightly longer quote. When Gary brought one of the classes through the graduation, he said, "It brought tears in my eyes because I was able to see the growth and the transformation of people that came in as youngsters at 14 years of age, very immature, not sure about direction. And then I saw people who had matured tremendously, that had a focus, that had a vision for what their future wanted to be, that were really appreciative of the education that they had received." I guess one student put it best, you really have to appreciate the kind of dedication to students and faculty that Mr. Boccaccio brought. Certainly, faculty and teachers may not always have agreed with Mr. Boccaccio on what he said, but we always knew we got a fair shake with him, that he would always listen to us, and that he always had the best interests of the school at heart. And yes, I think we, the teachers of Danbury High School, do also say we have to appreciate that kind of dedication to the students and the faculty that he's brought. And Mr. Boccaccio, unquestionably, is a true hatter in every sense of the word. And now, Mr. Donovan will take over next year. Another headline in here said, "Good choice to fill big shoes." I actually think Donovan's shoe size may be larger than Boccaccio's. But, again, student words. He has paid his dues. We don't need to go through all the different initiatives and things that Mr. Donovan has carried through at the high school. We are very grateful for what he has done. And perhaps the most telling comment in here from students is that this was a good decision because he is not far removed from the classroom. He understands. He knows. He's been there. He works with our students and our teachers every day, every minute of every day. And he will need all that experience and all that determination as he goes forward because, I mean, we can be honest, there are issues that he will have to deal with at the high school. In particular, there are three, I think, that my colleagues would agree with me on that I would like to bring up here tonight. The first one, I think, is that we need to be thinking about some sort of a restoration of a balance. And when I say restoration of a balance of what? Our students are people. They are not test scores. They have all the different needs of growing young people, growing into adulthood, and we need to meet all those needs. this almost testing mania that's been driven down on us from Washington, D.C. all the way down to us has caused all kinds of distortions in what we do, in our curriculum, in our offerings to the students. And over and over, the pressure is test scores, test scores, test scores. Our students are much more than just test scores. And I think it's about probably time that we started to address this balance and move us back towards addressing the true needs of our students and all the different things that they bring into the school on a regular basis. The second thing here, especially with our students, is we know there are subgroups that need more help and attention and care and nurturing. And they are widely varied. They can be our immigrant students who have come in, ELL students, they can be students at risk, they can be students in our special ed programs. We at the high school and under district leadership have done many, many things and created many important programs to help these young people and move them forward on their way. But more still needs to be done. I think it's a testimony to the strength of our teaching staff and the dedication of our teachers that we try to, in many ways, shield our students from the testing mania, to understand what they need first, that there are priorities here, and that when our students' needs are well met and well served, the rest will fall into place. The test scores will go up by themselves if we are doing right by our students. I've heard this little phrase that we all like to say, Danbury High School speaks in 43 different languages or 46 different languages or whatever the number might be. And though, yes, we do speak in 43 languages, I think it might be time for us to also ask how many languages do we actually listen in? Because our students tell us things and we need to be aware of these things. Excuse me. The third big challenge really comes from the evaluation system. And the teacher evaluation system, with all the extra task saturation, fatigue, and maybe even burnout, close to burnout in some cases, has really taken a sledgehammer to staff morale, perhaps not only at the high school, but around the district. We are very lucky, and NEA Danbury certainly thanks Dr. Pascarella, Dr. Glass, and all the other high-level members of their team, because they have been very willing and open to discussing with us all the issues and things that have surfaced with this particular plan and are committed to working with us so that we together can continue to build the trust and the dialogue and the conversations to actually make this a successful plan. And as the plan is supposed to be, it's a growth plan. It is the improvement of our teaching practice. And we certainly look forward to continuing to work on that and to build that so that we ultimately give the best possible education to our students. If we have good teachers, which we do, under the leadership of good administration, then what can only result is excellent education for our excellent, excellent students. And the teachers at the high school certainly look forward to working under the leadership of Dan Donovan next year, to finish out under Gary Boccaccio this year, to continue to build those relationships, to improve our teaching, and to improve education for all our students. And perhaps one day, if we are still using print, though by the way, this says stop the press, we're going digital, but maybe one day the headline will read, Donovan says DHS will be forever in his heart. And Mr. Donovan will be his shoes will be those that somebody else will need to fill. And maybe like one of the students here said, once you're a Hatter, you're always a Hatter. We're proud of our school. We look forward to great things. We thank you. And if I may also close today as a history teacher, tomorrow is Veterans Day. Please thank a veteran. And if there's anybody in here who has served, on behalf of all the teachers of the high school, thank you. And, well, enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe. Thank you very much. All right, now we're moving on. Now it's student representatives time. And since we just finished with Danbury High School, why don't we start with Danbury High School? Would you introduce yourself and start?
Hi, my name is Emily Reese, and this is Marissa Lobo, and we are part of the Board of Governors Executive Council at Denver High School. In the past few weeks at DHS, we have had a DECO breakfast last Friday, honoring the first 10 students of the order. There will be a breakfast this Thursday for our door decorating contest winners, and the theme this year was What Inspires You? And seeing the participation from all grades was very impressive this year. Today at 2 p.m., our boys soccer team won their first SDAC game in the state competition, so that's really impressive as well. Starting on Monday, the DECA organization at our school is hosting a canned food drive, and all proceeds will go to help fight children's hunger. Lastly, the first quarter is coming to an end, and report cards will be passed out this Thursday to all grades during advisory periods. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone here from ACE? No one's here from ACE. Okay, moving forward, it's time for quiz. Oh,
That one here.
oh, hi.
Hi. Okay. So I do have a few notifications. I was speaking with the statewide student member of the Connecticut Board of Education, and he gave me some updates. So the most recent statewide Board of Education meeting was very brief. The state adopted new standards for science education. A small wording connection was made to a past vote, so again, very short meeting. The board approved the Department of Education's legislative agenda for this year, and a number of budget cuts were also announced. The most significant budget cut was a budget cut for CPEP, which is the Connecticut Pre-Engineering Program. They're cutting about $250,000 for that program, something that I was personally quite disappointed to hear about. I'm actually a student. I've gone through the Connecticut Pre-Engineering Program, and the opportunities provided to me were truly invaluable. So we'll see where the student voice goes on that. I'm sure once the Statewide Student Advisory Council on Education hears of these budget cuts, there will be some discussion at our next meeting. And our next meeting is on November 16th. Dr. Pascarella, I do have to speak with you a little bit later about those high school graduation requirements in a committee meeting. And I'm hoping to get some support from students on that particular issue, and we might speak to one of the committees in charge of that particular topic.
Thanks, Lexi. I'm sorry I didn't respond.
No worries.
Moving forward, our presentation.
Yes, Rob, come on up. And Jessica, we used to teach
I'm
first
not, I
event,
can't.
right?
I can't.
I'll let him do the background, but every year I'm just marveled at the work that the program does, fully does for us, for our students. I'm sure many of you don't even know what goes on during the summer, during the year. And every time he gives me this report, I say, I gotta take it to the board. So tonight we have the opportunity for Rob to do that. Go ahead.
Can I say two things before that kind of had, first thing is I had Michael in 6th grade, right? You know, and I'm very proud to see him down here because even in 6th grade, he was into politics. I gotta use this.
That's such a surprise to us.
Okay. So anyway, I'm happy to see you down there while I'm sitting here. Let me see. That's a great thing. And my son goes to AIS, so if I'm the only spokesperson for AIS, he's made a smooth transition to AIS. I know one of the tough things about AIS is that there's so many kids from different areas, and when you transfer, it's hard to get along with. There's not everybody's in the same community, but he's done a great job there. So plug in a couple of things there. I'll get to the point. So, real quick, I want to tell you a little bit about our program. You guys have the sheet that Jessica turned around, who is a product of Danbury High School. So, what you have here is our program, and basically our program is divided up into 3 segments. The first segment is our Excel program, which we service all 3. I guess I'll sit down. Which is broken down into all 3 of the middle schools. And there's a breakdown of how many students we service in each school right there. We added the West Side Middle School this year, and that was a huge success. We have 21 students. We're looking at possibly doubling that for next year. I'm going to tell you, and then moving down, we have the Minority Bilingual Teaching Pipeline, which is a collaboration with the Danbury Board of Ed and Western Connecticut. What that does is it works with students that want to be teachers, and Jessica can talk a little bit more about that one.
Yeah, so it's students who want to go into the teaching profession. So what they do is they go and they work with Ellsworth Elementary School right now, and they go during the summertime and they create different lessons. They go and teach, so it gets them a little bit excited about the teaching profession. And then with some of them, it's like, oh, I don't want to teach probably because it's all of these things that you have to do. So they learn when they're in junior and senior year. But most of them, they usually do decide to teach or do some kind of in the teaching field.
And so the key thing, since we're in education, the anticipatory set here is the fact that they all get college credit for taking this class, which then translates into 3 college credits, and they can carry that into WestCon, or it could even transfer to one of the other state schools. The last program I want to talk about real quick is the Concast EAP program, which I'm not going to spend too much time on. But that is a feeder program for our high school students and many other students that come from Danbury High to be in a 5-week residential summer program at Western Connecticut. Read through that. That again is not exactly what I came here to talk about, but it's definitely it's part of the path that we've created from working with elementary kids, middle school, high school, and then on to the college group. The program we want to focus on most here though is the high school group. And, we've doubled the amount of high school students within the last 2 years. We get the majority of our funding through the federal government and the state government. The Board of Education has helped us as well. What we've been able to accomplish with these monies primarily is to help provide the after-school tutoring program at Danbury High School with busing home and providing them with approximately 8 to 10 tutors throughout the days that they have tutoring. This has been hugely successful, and it was a smaller model that we've grown into a larger model with all of Danbury High School. The smaller model can be seen in the data that we've given you guys in the sheets and the retention and the graduation rates. This has been the program that we've run with this program. And part of the reason why we get the money from the federal government is because part of our goal is to turn around persistently low-achieving schools or school districts. And this has been one way that we've been able to help Danbury kind of, help with the after-school programming. Some other things that we do, and I want to bring in some of the students, and it's kind of key that they're here because we actually have a senior, a graduate of the program, and a current student of the program, and they happen to be siblings. So I wanted to bring them here for a quick second for them to just talk to you a little bit about their experience in the program at each one of these levels. Whoever's first.
Okay, so my name is Yara Zaccarado. I graduated from Danbury High School back in 2010. The program was very influential in my life. I'm the oldest daughter of immigrant parents who always enforced the importance of an education but never had the means to tell me how to go to college or how to get scholarships. And the staff in the program were always there to guide me through the process and know what my potential was before even I knew what my potential was. I managed to go to UConn with a full ride, so I don't have any loans to pay. I am currently working here in Danbury trying to save up to go to graduate school for either my master's or my doctorates. And I also think the program was really good because it showed me what my potential was and how hard work can always get you to someplace. But at the same time, you may also need a hand to help you no matter how hard you work. I feel like it's always good to have someone to show you what path you can take and have them lead you the correct way to do something. And both my siblings are now in the program, and I'm very happy they are, because even though I've been through the process, they can learn from other people their own age and see how their experience is different and alike from all the students that are in the program. And I think that's very important to see that, how unique you are, but also how you're in a similar boat or in a similar situation with other people your age, and they can learn from that as well.
My name is Yago Zaccarotto. For those of you who know me, like Dr. Saleh and Mr. Fay, I am one of the student representatives of the Say Something initiative that took place at Danbury High School these past couple weeks. I just want to go on record by saying that part of my strive for doing that change, for bringing that community change project to Danbury High School is because of the CONCAP Upward Bound program that we have at DHS. With CONCAP, I found a love for community service. I found a love for helping people. And that kind of escalated with going into the peer leadership program at DHS and learning about the St. Luke Promise organization. And that evolved into a strive for change that I had. And that's what really made me want to bring the Say Something initiative to Danbury High School. And I think that's the biggest thing that CONCAP has given me. There has been, the knowledge of how to fill out a college application and scholarship application, but I feel what was most influential to my life is me wanting to go and put forward help, me wanting to go the extra mile, and me wanting to help other people. That's what I have to say about the CONCAP Upward Bound program.
Hi, my name is Yanka Zaccarotto. I'm a junior at DHS right now, and I'm also in CONCAP. I went through Excel as well. And as my sister was saying, my parents, they didn't finish high school, didn't go to college, so they don't know anything about the process of going into it, and CONCAP definitely helps. Every year we learn about scholarships, we learn about how to apply, we learn about that whole process. Also, the teachers, they grow a very big a very important relationship with the students in the program. I know that me, during my free periods, I'm always in a classroom talking to a CONCAP teacher, asking for help, telling them about how school is going. Yeah, and it's like, you go into the program, I didn't think that I would grow as big as a relationship with everyone that I grew, but the teachers, they know my parents, they know my siblings, and they get very involved with the students in the program, and that really helps.
To kind of just sum up a couple things, I have a card, and on the back of it is kind of like a QR code, and you guys can look up our website. It's on the back. That website can direct you to the Excel, the CONCAP Upward Bound, and the EAP. So if you just QR code that, and you're good to go, or you can look us up online. Just to kind of sum up to a lot of things that we do, and the reason why I brought that up is because we keep an up-to-date calendar on our website. We meet with the students bi-weekly, as a group. We meet with them weekly as individuals. And like I said, we have the after-school tutoring program. And the other thing that really helps these students, and is the most beneficial piece, we call it the bread and butter, right, is the fact that they're on Westcon's campus for 6 weeks during the summer. And while they're on campus for 6 weeks, they're taking classes that they will have been taking next academic year. For example, if a student has above a C73, right, in any one subject, they're allowed to move up and take the next subject offered. If not, they retake that during the summer for the 6 weeks to get reinforcement for the next academic year. During the summer, we also, we take college tours and things like that, a lot of team building activities, and what we do is we bring a lot of that to the high school when we meet on a bi-weekly basis. Subsequently, at all the middle schools, the same activities are starting to go on right now as well. One thing, and I heard it from all three of them, we've already done, since the year started, we've done something like pretty cool. I'm going to say close to 20 community service projects, between, September and where we are right now. So we're very active. One community service project doesn't fit every student, so we try to have multiple ones so that everybody can take part in each one. And unless you have something else.
No, I think you brought it up.
We're all, any questions?
That's what I'm gonna ask.
Wait.
You have any questions, guys?
No, I can't.
It was that complete, but nobody has a question?
I always have a
I'm
question.
sorry, Bob.
I like
always has a
questions.
Okay, just an example of some of the community service.
So this next week, we're doing a thing called Wake and Rake. It's based out of Brookfield, but what they do is they help elderly people clean the leaves around their homes that can't get outside. It's a Brookfield activity, but we actually got a site in Danbury, which is nice because our students are from Danbury. We do a lot with Ability Beyond Disability homes. We bake cookies on Thanksgiving, and then I'm thinking of Valentine's Day. What was the other one we do?
We do like community service with Moore Street, like where we go and we do like breakfast with Santa. We do
haunted
we
hallway.
usually do the haunted hallway, and then just any activities that they have. So we try to work with like the other schools. We try to work with the community partners, and then like they mentioned a lot of different activities, so that way all the students have the opportunity to do. But then definitely, if you have a chance, check out our website because all the community service are there, the dates and the time.
Friends of the Library book sale.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of them. The ones that come to mind.
Sal wants to know if you guys can come find him a contact in Westport. Please.
I just,
Go ahead, Phyllis.
okay, I just wanted to say that when I was a guidance counselor, this program just started ages ago, and it really warms my heart to see how it has grown
Yep.
tremendously, and thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
so.
And we'll keep growing.
Yes. So, one thing, and just to tell you guys, when I started this job, 2002, we had 57 students. And now, we're up to 132 in the high school, and it goes on and on, 90 in the middle school, and then obviously we're getting a lot of the Danbury kids at the college and at EAP. And so that really is, we are growing. In fact, one of the things, actually this will be my first public thing to tell you. I'm getting a new building. I'm getting a new area for this building at the for this program at the college. So they're going to give me a wing. If you've been at the college, you've seen the Math Emporium. We're going to get a room very similar to that. So a lot of the workshops that we host for the parents, and also the students, we're sponsors of College Goal Sunday, and these are things where students fill out their FAFSA form and so on and so forth. We now have an actual room where we can host a lot of that stuff where I don't have to go reserve it with somebody else, So that should help us out a lot at the college.
And then just one thing to add, we don't only we try to help the family all, so even the parents, once they see that their student is going to college, they even start taking classes. A lot of our parents don't know English, so a lot of them start taking, English classes, trying to see, how can I go back to school? What can I do to, also keep up with what my child is doing? So it's a very nice transition to see that as well, because then they start helping. They help out with a lot of the community services as well. So then a lot of them, it's amazing how they haven't been to Terrawire. They haven't been to all these places that you think they will be familiar with because they're afraid or anything. So now that they're students in the program, they're being exposed to that. So it's a very nice transition for them. It's a very good thing.
It sounds like everything's just very positive. And I thank you both for coming and doing it and telling us, because I've just learned a lot. And thank you.
Thank you.
Now, before you go, I was on the board, Rob's worked tirelessly to help us to start that middle school program. And we have after-school programs. The bus is there. Rob allows our students to ride the bus. So it's really a great collaborative. It's a 360 family program. And you mentioned, students mentioned a few times they get to stop in during the day to teachers who are in the after-school program, which means there are high school teachers that are teaching this, right?
Yep, so one of the masterminds of the program, I think, right, or the real beauty of the program is the fact that a lot of the teachers at Danbury High or in the middle school for the Excel program work for us during the summer and during the academic year. So it adds that piece of continuity for the students. They know the teacher for 4 years. For example, Ms. Bergnolo, who some of you may know, happens to be a very good editing writer. She teaches English at the high school, and she's able to really help all the kids, whether they're freshmen or whether they're seniors, or whether I'm working on a grant, I go to her, so she's multifaceted in that way. Also, in the tutoring, what we've tried to do too, we also are in the process of hiring some tutors from the honors program to come down and help with the after-school tutoring program as well at the high school. So you know, it really has been a feat, but it's worked. And the things that I've recognized is if you're gonna have an after-school program for kids, there has to be transportation home. I used to think you just had to have food. It's not just food, you just have to have transportation home, food helps. Yeah, it's really been, you know, when I grew up, guys, after-school programs were a norm. You know, no one went home. I mean, everybody went home later on, and when I saw that, you know, there was an after-school program going, but we've just put it on steroids, you know what I mean? It's really hopping now. The other thing is I know Yago last year was part of that minority bilingual teaching pipeline. The good thing about that is all those students are bilingual, and so what they did at the high school last year is they went to the after-school tutoring program and kind of put on like a note-taking seminar, you know, for bilingual students to hopefully help them, you know, take more notes, and they taught them different techniques of
And
note-taking.
even this year, our AU students who are participating in this program are actually helping bilingual and ESL classes at Denver High School right now. So during their free period, they will go to one teacher and just like help her out and help the other students as well. So it's a good, like, you know, the peer communication as well.
But the beauty, like Sal alluded to, it's the continuity of the teachers, understanding the students, and really, you know, what you guys are creating with that freshman, you know, class is that, you know, the rapport is there year after year, and it's just a relationship. You know, I constantly talk to these guys about having a good rapport with your teacher, having a good rapport. That means everything when you go to college for sure, but also in high school, so.
So before you go,
Yes,
we didn't do this before.
that's all right.
Joe, these are the kinds of activities we were all proud of that Joe Voss was talking about when you hear what our kids are doing. Will the teachers from high school stand up?
Right.
I meant to do that before, so we know you're here. We want to thank you. Thank you, Jessica. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night, thank you. And to the students in the back, just so you know, the superintendent's report, to let you know that, as Chairman indicated, when the audience has something to say at that table, they do not respond. That doesn't mean that they wouldn't take it up and discuss it. So please don't think that. So thank you very much for coming. Nice job.
Thank you all. Thank you, Ruth.
Thank you.
Wow, that was a great presentation.
Isn't it fun? It's phenomenal. Good night, Dave. Good night, Thomas.
Right, you don't need policy.
Yeah?
No, that's true, we don't need PowerPoint and everything, right? And this way here, nothing breaks, so it just keeps flowing, all right. All right, moving to our action items. Thank you all for coming. Thank you. Our action items, go Kevin.
That the Board of Education approve the use of building rental funds in accordance with 15-172.
Second.
Seconded by Bob Taversack. Any discussion, questions for Mr. Martino? Okay, seeing none. Oh, Bob, I'm sorry.
Just a comment. We just had a sites and facilities meeting, and
Bob,
I'm very proud that we've been able to use the rental fund for what it's supposed to be used for. Okay? So, money comes in and it's used for the facilities that are directly related to the activities that rental fund money is collected. Okay? It's nice to see that kind of program operate the way it should.
it's actually been doing that for a while, and
Yeah, exactly.
it's very rewarding. Okay, thank you. Is that the only question or piece of conversation in this? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No abstentions? Seeing none, passes. Go, Ken.
I believe
We
that
have
this
to
has to
remove-
table, we have to
I need a
table.
motion to table. The contract is, the Sodexo contract, as you know, runs through the State Department of Education, and what is going to be school lunch program we put the original contract on, and the state contract, again, they have some edits. There are minor changes that have to comply with state and federal statutes. So, in a sense, I need a motion to table this item until bring it back at the next meeting.
I make a motion that we table the Sodexo agreement.
Seconded by Gladys. And that's it? All in favor? Aye. Done. Okay, we're moving on to the superintendent's report.
School enrollment, we talked about it last time, but we are right now for this year at, let me make sure this is 11,192. And last year at this time, we were at 10,915. When we go through the building project, as Joe mentioned today, they will verify the numbers. But I'll give you an example. Currently, our fifth grade is 868, and our kindergarten is 918. So we're in the 900s. A few years ago, we were in the 700s. So we have sustained growth over time. And you have more building going in town. So some of the things Joe will talk about and with his project is that we're trying to search out and look for more space in some of the construction work that we're doing. I didn't want you, I don't know if you have any questions about the moment. Sometimes you'll get a call as a board member, why does this school have two sections in the school? It's just by the number, sheer numbers. You can't divide, sometimes there's not enough space and there's only two sections or larger. Sometimes you're able to put a third section in there and therefore they're smaller. Every school is different, and they have their own insignias, they have everything different. We staff according to our goals, but we have classes that exceed our goals. We have classes in the elementary school that are 24 and 25 that we want at 22, some are 26, some are 18 when you redivide them. But across the district, we're pretty much growing, and there isn't a lot of space at all. As you walk around the building, you'll notice that. Even though we did the redistricting 2 years ago, even if we go to redistrict, we have nowhere to put it. So unless we start night school, which I don't think we're going to do. So we do have a challenge coming up, so our numbers are pretty solid. So we shouldn't have any problem with the high school numbers, correct?
High school currently, no, there's no problem.
That should work out fine. You want to talk about E-rate?
As the board may remember, in the summertime, we applied for a E-rate grant for what's known as a network replacement. On the bottom of all your cell phone, your cell phone and your home phone bills, you'll see a line item that says Universal Service Fund. It's like $1 or $2 in everyone's bills. Well, schools and libraries are allowed to submit for funding on that. So Danbury received a just shy of $1 million grant to replace our network over the next 2 years. So good thing. We have a 10% match, which means we have to put up $100,000 against $1 million. But in the grand scheme of that, it's really pennies in the dollar. So going forward to help with, obviously, we're going to do actually another large lease in the next budget for our network. So really worked out really good, really pleased we're getting that funding. Good news.
And then the budget?
Budget update, we're just actually in the process of getting our health insurance renewal. We should have that actually probably within the next week. We're beginning projections related to contracts and working with Cabinet on various ideas and current future planning. So early days there, we should have some, rough estimates on where some things are, particularly health insurance numbers going forward. So, just beginning, good times.
Fun.
Yeah.
Well, we are looking in the budget for support work. The intervention process that we have that comes out of your ECS money, we would like to expand in terms of helping students at the middle school and elementary. The high school has a tutorial session, area where there's students are able to drop in and get support. We're not quite there at the middle school and elementary. So we're looking at different models for supporting the elementary schools, particularly in mathematics and reading. So when you look at the budget, that'll be part of it. I dare to say, even if we don't get the Alliance money, it doesn't increase, we're going to have to move some money out of Alliance into operation to support the teachers' work, particularly at the elementary school. It's a high priority for us this year. You've always said keep teachers in classrooms. We've done that. We don't have any more classrooms to put them. So we have no more classrooms. So, but there are kids that need help under our intervention model that the elementary has really been asking for a few years. So we're going to try, we will help them in the next budget cycle. We have transportation study update.
Transportation study, as the board knows, we hired Mark Walsh from Transportation Advisory Services. He'll be coming in next week, beginning his study work. Basically interviews district level staff, principals, our current transportation coordinator, Melanie Lucas, myself, also STA. He will do a complete study and a breakdown of our bell schedules and our processes, review our policies, and make a recommendation back to us as far as different ways we could change, possibly, curtail costs. As we know, we are in the currently 4th year of a 5-year contract with STA, so this also kind of begins to tee up that work, whether we bid that out or what process will go there. So actually, it's going to be real good next week. Sure, report back to the board, I think, back up in January.
Yeah, the board needs to prepare itself, because what we're talking about here, you remember that we had a parent a few weeks ago about a bus stop. You remember when we switched times at one school, that's what it's talking about. There's gonna be some hard decisions to make. I think we've been pretty efficient in the routes. We've been inefficient, in a good way, accommodating. We, rather than hassling parents, we'll put the kid in the bus if we can. We permit parents to change, and because where their sitters are and where they work, that costs you a lot of money to do. And the recommendation he's gonna come to you with, when you wanna put help for the elementary teachers, for example, in where you can save money, you could probably, every bus is $65,000. We could do a lot there. But, so when he comes to us, be prepared for that kind of conversation. And I'm not saying you have to take those things, but I think we would be negligent if we didn't look at them. About, starting times and the big ones at middle school, the middle school one.
Yeah, West Side
West
is
Side
going to challenge on, we have to repurpose our bus runs. It's hard to get buses back in position to, in a sense, pick up some of the other tiers.
Because they go all around the city,
So
right?
that's-
So you make them last, it does. So there's things like that, I just want you to be aware of. That's what it's gonna come back.
And your early and late elementary, high school start times, that's not gonna change, your current middle schools, but I mean, period West Side and some of your start times in early and late elementary will be
And
probably.
maybe move some areas. So, okay, we'll look forward to that one, right? Elementary technology, Lisa. Good news here. We put it on last week, but we knew we have good news.
We've been working closely with the city and the city council on our technology lease. It was moved to a subcommittee at the October meeting. There is the subcommittee we held actually next Wednesday night on the lease, which will move forward to the full council for adoption. And we are moving forward with the purchasing, the lease implications, since the financing vehicle the council will approve. But the laptops are coming in today, so good news on that. 466 future laptops to start.
We, in order to, we thought we'd get them last month.
Right.
We had to move the elementary grading period in order to make sure that the teachers have ample time to load up the computers, the grades, and it didn't force a real issue for them if we would have tried to stay on schedule. So I think we moved it a week, Bill, right? So that we're able to get everything formatted, get them to the teachers, and then they can get them home to parents. So we did move a week on that. That's all on my report. We do have discussion under, if I might. I put the goals in your packet, just so that rather than have one meeting where I sit down and bore you to death, I thought it'd be a little better as we go through the year, we can update you on what we're doing. The first goal that we're all focusing on, and Joe mentioned before, you put the assessment to the side, but we're all trying to focus and target on certain skills. And we're trying to align all of our goals with board goals. The teachers have been mindful to try to align with our goals and the building goals and the administrators, so we have maximum leverage moving forward in critical areas. You all been there at workshop with Jonathan Costa. This is what it's all about right here, playing out in the classroom. But your first goal that you challenged me with was to ensure that all students are challenged and given the maximum opportunities. Ensure that each and every child has the opportunity to learn and grow and be exposed to 21st century skill. What does that really mean? And it really doesn't fall on my shoulders. I can't really do that, but the teachers do that. And Bill, maybe you want to talk a little bit about how we're doing that and the alignment piece. And below there, it says STAR testing. That's what we implement, that's our progress monitoring for some of the work that we're doing. But,
This is all a working, not working.
no, don't do that. No, don't do that. It's gotta stay in sequence.
No,
It doesn't?
no, there's no secret.
Okay, here's a
That's the
first. Sal fixing it for Bill. This is a first.
We were on.
Someone take a picture, please.
This is from a man who constantly loses his iPad and cell phone.
Joe, how long have I had this item?
Like almost 2 years.
First time in 9 years I've ever seen Sal get up and fix it for Bill. Nice job.
It's because I broke it before we started.
Oh, I see. You learned a lesson.
Take care of those.
Is Joe still here? You may have
He
left.
is.
Joe. These points are well taken. I think we've all been struggling with the balance between how much assessment versus how much teaching. And the same thing goes with the teacher evaluation program. So our overall model, we're really focusing on heavily, is the concept of diagnose, then prescribe. The lightest amount of diagnostic work that you have to do to be able to get down to root cause, and then you come up with a prescription. So at the board's request and the request of many others, including ourselves, we worked to slim the assessment calendar. And in some ways we did, in some ways we didn't. We didn't slim the actual number of assessments per se, but we significantly slimmed the amount of time that kids are being tested. Do we want to go farther along that path? Yes, we do. But we want to make sure we don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. So the STAR assessment that Sal mentioned is something called a norm reference test. It means it's been checked out nationally in terms of things called reliability and validity. So that's not just something we made up, and we're not really sure if the results we get back are actually valid. They are very valid, but we're at the baseline level right now, and we just gave the first round of assessment, grades 1 all the way up, and it tells us where we currently are, but it doesn't tell us much more than that. The board has heard both Sal and myself over years now talk about trend line data, and the idea of looking at where we were, are we moving forward, are we making steady progress? There has never been in the history of the United States a straight trend line like this. It goes up, it dips a little bit, it goes up, it dips a little bit. Again, you heard Joe talk about the idea of making sure we put resources up against our most challenged kids, and those typically show up in the subgroups. Our TVAL plan is sensitive to the national subgroups recognized by the federal government, as well as any subgroup that we come up with that may not be nationally recognized, but we see that these kids aren't doing as well. So we've had our first round of this. We're working on a project that comes out of Harvard University. If you hear the term data-wise, all this means is we create a culture to do deep levels of diagnostic work. We base all of our decisions on evidence. So it's not just we think this, but rather here it's the evidence that's underpinning it. And then all of this ties in, as Sal just said, to the 2 coherence goals on the part of the board. As you know, the district has been commended repeatedly outside of Danbury, up to and including the statewide leadership conference over the summer, because the fact that Danbury is trying to bring coherence to all the work that it does. So we picked, as a school system, the idea of 21st century problem solving, or making an argument based on evidence. You could do that in a kindergarten class. You know, what's the most popular flavor of ice cream, vanilla or chocolate? And a bunch of kids say, well, we think it's chocolate because we like it. And so they do a little survey, raise your hands, and they count the numbers, and lo and behold, they find out that out of the 20 kids, 15 like vanilla. And suddenly they say, now we know we've solved this question through an inquiry-based model. We've inquired, we've collected data, we now have evidence. Vanilla ice cream is more popular in our classroom. You take that and bring it all the way up to AP Calc. So it expands to fit the volume that we have. The same thing with making an argument based on evidence. It's 2 ends of the same continuum. So our argument is that vanilla ice cream is the best argument. I apologize for taking us down to kindergarten, but our argument is vanilla ice cream is the best. Show us the evidence. Show us that you've actually done the work on this. And we now know what kind of ice cream to get for our summer party or something. So we had to solve a problem. We went through this argumentation process. We brought forth the evidence. and we now can solve a problem of practice. At a very sophisticated level, this is what we're working on now as a school system. This will literally take years to create the culture that's talked about in here, where we can look at any school, any classroom, any grade level, and feel the presence of this. But in order to do that, the final piece is really providing teachers with real-time data that's not too invasive. You can take a 20-minute test as opposed to a 2 or 3 day assessment, and it really saves instructional time. We know that was a big, big priority on the part of the board. You saw the work that the district did in terms of changing our whole professional development model, our grade level meeting model, and still not trying to get rid of the SRBI approach. We need time to bring people together. So with all this said, it's very difficult, closing point, very difficult to talk about any one initiative. These are no longer separate, standalone pieces, but rather we use the image of a necklace where each initiative is a pearl that's strung together on the necklace. So when we put them all together, you get a diagnostic, prescriptive model, and instructional enhancement based around the concept of continuous improvement.
So we're trying to collect data around that. As we go through, you'll hear more about that. Your other goal, if you look at that, was to ensure that our curriculum is uniform across grade levels. You know, we are working at the middle school with the exploration, and you'll see in the budget an exploration budget in next year's staffing. Right now, we started last spring, working this fall. Dr. LeBlanc has been helping us, and Christy as well, the API at the middle school, in creating exploration units of study to move over. So I'm looking forward to that. That's going to mean some tweaking of schedule, but we're moving down that road. The thing that we're challenged on, I'm sorry.
That's all right, I'll wait until you're done.
Okay, the thing that we're challenged, the world language part, you know, and we're actually looking at some options for world language at the elementary school for us. There are some things Gusto is looking at that some districts have adopted, and we're going to see if in fact we can infuse some of that in there. For the middle schools, that project-based learning, you know, we do the 8-drop over at Westside. We're looking at some common ones across the district, so that there is integration of the work that's going on at Westside, so it migrates over to the other 2 places as well. So that's sort of what we're doing in that goal arena that the board. Budget-wise, we'll see what the world language one when we start looking at the budget. But I think there's some opportunities there. Rob Cody talked about something I think is, we want to really work at extending the school day. Our kids have the ability, they need time. You know, remember you saying, you know, time should be the variable, learning should be the constant, instead of the other way around. And if we can extend time, maybe there's some world language opportunities after school as well as during school, along with some tutoring. So we're looking at different schemas that we're bringing that to the board to see. So I thank you for those, for that goal. Parenting community, Ann, would you speak to the way the question?
Okay, let me just, it's only a little question
Go.
about that first goal. Bill, that STAR test, is it computerized or is it paper? Is it computerized test, and how long does it take to take that test? About 20 minutes. And it goes from grade 1 to all the way up to 12.
Now, 1, 2, and 3 were required, how much is our line?
7.7 million.
7.7 million in the reading requires assessment. And they prescribed the assessment, and we weren't particularly pleased with what they were prescribing to us.
Bye, guys, thank
So
you.
now, good night. We looked at last year all of our assessments, and we needed some progress monitoring. The STAR was one that offered, it's a smart test because it's on the computer. It's at the level of the students, but it doesn't, and that's at the same standard. It adjusts to the students answering it. The first time, I'm told, takes 25 to 30 minutes to set it up. After that, maybe 15 to 20 minutes. But all kids are not taking it all the time. What we've done is made a decision tree. So the kids that are on target, you don't have to retake it until, you know, later on for dipsticking. The youngsters that are on a little more often, every 3 weeks, are kids that's an IEP, kids that need more assistance. What it doesn't provide, that Bill talked about, is drilling down. It'll tell you, you know, what maybe is maybe a challenge the youngsters having, but we need to drill down on what those things are. That takes the time to teach it. That's what I was saying before. We need to give teachers support when they locate that, so we have assistance and resources to get them to work on those things. So that's how the STAR works.
Okay, and it's done, seems like it's being done a lot during the year.
It's done for progress and monitoring, for our reading at the elementary, specifically the turn to the state. It's also done for our Alliance grant, in terms of showing progress. It's scheduled through the year, but youngsters who don't score as high, who need progress fund, take it a little more often.
Okay.
All right, that's the difference. We don't have to put all the kids through it when they're meeting the goal. There isn't any point in it. So they're just moving off. That's what we're doing. And community. That one's not working. Though I don't think that's the one trade.
Okay. Okay, there we go. Is that better? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so Dr. Pasquarella had asked me to work on more of the goals around the community engagement. So we have some initiatives that we've rolled out this year. We're in the process of doing them right now, and to engage more families. The first thing that we've really been looking at as a group in the Learning Center is building trust with our families in Danbury. We realized right off that many families don't trust because we're a community entity, though more and more families are realizing that schools are a safe place. And so we are working very, very hard on exactly what aren't they trusting about schools and municipalities, and how we can strengthen that so that parents do trust schools. So that's one of the first ones. I'm just going to read through the different goals that we have going on right now. So goal 2A was effective parent-school partnerships. And so we are running a pilot program for any school that wanted to volunteer for it to come on board. And the first one is to do a walkthrough of how welcoming is your school. We have targeted 3 to 4 schools, and we have 4 schools that are going to go through that opportunity. It will be a group of community folks as well as some staff here in the district that's trained through CREC, which is the Capital Regional Education Council up in Hartford. We're going to be training 25 people here in Danbury. And so they'll do the walkthroughs through the school. They'll be responsible for the tallying of the information and getting it back to the school principals. And then the school principals will be given some strategies and things to perhaps change in their school, discuss with their staff, and implement. Our other piece of it is normally when parents get a call home, it's because their child has done something negative. And so we want to change that whole culture. And so we've asked 3 to 4 schools, and we have 3 who have committed, to have 2 grades make calls to 50% of their parents once a month. That says, hi, Mrs. So-and-so, or Mr. So-and-so, just wanted to tell you today that your child had a really great day, homework was completed, something that's positive. So our parents don't always look at us as a district that we only call home when there's something negative going on, but that positive. So once we start that positive communication, we know that it works in our school readiness programs, and the more that we can implement that in our other grades, it will be helpful, okay? We have piloted last year online workshops for parents, and we will be piloting that again. We're going to be using both in class and pilot the Scholastic parent engagement for literacy for families, and so that will be rolled out through the Learning Center and through Park Avenue. We're very excited about that. It gives parents the opportunity to sign on at a given time around 8 o'clock at night after their children have gone to bed. And when we piloted it last year, we saw lots of dads do it because they could be home from work at that point and took part in it. We did things such as mindset change. We talked a lot about discipline, a lot about attendance and things like that. Some of the ideas come from the actual parents of what they'd like to learn, and then other times we use a curriculum that we have already. We, in school readiness, totally changed our format for our open house, and that is something that Karen Mapp from Harvard University has worked diligently over the years to flip how we do our open houses. And so in school readiness this year, we worked with our parent educator, to enroll 37 new families out of our 56 slots, and she did all of that mundane paperwork up front with them, went over the policies and procedures, went over the classroom expectations, and the parents had the opportunity to meet with the teachers at that point. So our open house night was things that parents had brought to our attention. Getting their children to eat good meals, developing an evening routine with their children, and getting them to bed and enough sleep on time. And so our open house that night dealt with those different 3 issues, and parents really felt that it helped them out to be able to then foster that growth that they want with their children, get themselves on time to work in the morning, and hopefully we now have that dialogue with parents more and more versus the way that we did before. We will be offering Les Serras. We're supporting the Parent Leadership Training Institute as well for some other parent trainings that we are doing. We have, part of my role is to work with the Danbury Promise for Children Partnership that's going through a very heavy-duty strategic plan right now. Under some new leadership, still working and very close in partnership with the United Way and all of our community partners, and we are re-energizing the Latino parent group as well as our community messengers, and that is 10 Spanish-speaking men and women and 10 English-speaking men and women that are kind of the pulse, are those new cultural brokers that get out into the community and share the good word, share what we're doing as a school district, sharing what we're doing for parent trainings, kindergarten registration, different things that parents need to know, and we're finding that that really is working well with the parents. We have made some inroads with PR out there. I am now writing a column each time in the Tribuna, and then it is published in 3 different languages. And 6 or 4 weeks ago was our first one. We did receive 2 responses from parents that had questions, so in this month's column, I've introduced that back to them, or given them their answers. So that's where we are with parent engagement. The Family Learning Center is working with over 400 families right now, and our family resource centers at our well-established one at Moore Street is doing well, and we have our new one now at South Street, and we're in the middle of getting that one up and running. Playgroup on Monday morning had 8 families, so we're very proud of that. So thank you for all your support and family engagement too, and in spreading that word and how important parents are. Yeah.
How many families were involved in the playgroup that I attended on Friday?
I think we had 18 families.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Just so everybody knows.
Yeah, I think was there and able to stop in and actually see a playgroup, and they're open all the time, so please feel free to come by, visit a playgroup, see what it's like. Our families are wonderful. Yeah.
And your article was great, I read it.
Thank you, thank you.
And one thing that we're trying to do is Sterling, stand up in the back.
Oh,
You want to tell folks what we're trying to achieve?
So we're trying to communicate more with the community that doesn't speak English, specifically Spanish, and so we're trying to get more information. So we're testing today a very rough Spanish translation so that we can put that online so that the Spanish community can watch the Board of Ed meeting and have an idea of what's going on, and know how they can participate as well. And so that's why you keep hearing me talk back here.
We thought you were talking to yourself.
Well, that too.
That's wonderful, thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Ann.
Fiscal responsibility, Joe?
Open the door, ask the young man to open the door.
I can get it, I have a book.
As Dr. said, our fiscal responsibility is continuing on all our efforts related to working with the city council and the mayor's office as far as related to our budget development process. We're beginning a little earlier in the budget with the finance committee this year. Obviously still looking at the 3-year process and 3-year budget model with the finance committee as well. Obviously our state funding, continue to work with our outside groups and our lobby, we're talking about possibly hiring a lobbyist for additional state funding as well. Those are in the broad sense on where we are in some of the goals.
You can't do it yourself, Joe?
No. The last thing we have there in front of you, the Delta program, the ASPA program, so I put that in there. So that kind of covers the goals that living and really working in the schools. So, okay, that's the construction grant. Do you want to speak to?
We had a conversation on facilities of a $1.7 million small, it's going to call it a small construction grant. the board is able to apply for $1.7 million in funding for minor improvements in our facilities, so lockers, bathroom upgrades and replacements, any playground work we'd like to do, sidewalks, in a sense, it was in minor projects. We're currently evaluating some pieces right now. One are some bathroom upgrades in some of the schools, lockers at our middle schools. Our playgrounds, we still have a few with some issues we need to deal with. For example, a generator at this building might be eligible for submissions. So there's quite a few projects we're starting to kind of weed through, working with the city pretty closely as far as getting things that are on their hit list that they haven't funded for years. Hopefully get some of those things done. So it'll be kind of more to come as we get later in the, probably early January item.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Joe. All right, where are we? That's it? We're done? Okay, school funding, the school funding,
No, I simply put that in there, that was the Katie Roy, that, the work that she had done, and there's material in here talking about the disparity in funding, and I think as folks talk to us about being 169th in terms of support, in fact, but if we look at it, you can see how much our local taxpayers are putting into it in order to make up the difference that we're not getting from the state. So we're hoping we get some relief from the state in terms of our taxpayers. But I thought you might, she sent it out last week, I thought you might appreciate having it. I also sent it to our legislators to advocate for us. I also asked for our legislators, actually it was Jim Long who made the suggestion, he knows politics very well, that it would be great if we can get some of our leadership into some of the committees as they form them. So they're formed already, but we form the new ones to advocate for having them on the education committee, the funding committee, the finance committee. That would help Denver quite a bit. So that's it for me. Thank you.
all right, that's it. Thank you, and all I'm going to talk about is our annual meeting, is December 2nd. But we have another board meeting after this, which is what's the date of it? Somebody, I don't have the dates in front of me. It's, never mind, I do have it, if I just read my thing. 24th? No. It is the 24th?
Yep, 7 PM.
7 PM, that's a Tuesday again. All right, okay, how about it's another Tuesday, because it's a Tuesday before Thanksgiving. All righty? Instead of the Wednesday. What is it, Phyllis?
It's my last one.
That's your last, I'm sorry, yes. But you all are gonna come to the annual dinner, for the dinner part,
All right.
all right? Make sure you come for the dinner part, everybody, okay? On the second, if everybody just spruce up a little bit, because the first thing we do at 5:45, no, I'm sorry, 5:30 is our pictures taken for the yearbook. And then we go into our business meeting at 5:45. And when after it adjourns, we go downstairs to the cafe, is that what's called, the cafe? The cafe and eat. All right, got it, Lexi? Make sure that you're there,
I'm
okay?
sorry, when is that?
That is on the 2nd, it's our annual meeting.
December?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll explain more about it in 2 weeks when I see you for Thanksgiving. What else? That's it.
Just the Sites and Facilities Committee, and I'm going to,
For the people that don't have it,
Don't have
Michael,
it.
David,
that was held earlier this evening.
and yours, and yours.
Actually,
Ladies,
Joe
thanks for
is going out.
coming.
Yeah. Good night.
Thanks for coming. Good night.
Joe is going out and getting more.
No, we don't need more.
Okay, over here.
Over here we do, and Rosalie. Okay. Go.
And of course, we already touched on many of the,
Speaking to the microphone, Kathleen.
yes, I just said, we just spoke tonight on many of the ideas that were brought up. So I just wanted to say thank you publicly to Rich Jolbert for the tremendous job that he does for this district, day in and day out. He's our Sites and Facilities Manager, and he just does a terrific job, and I wanted to thank him publicly. That's it.
And Joe Martino does an all right job too.
Joe will thank at a later date.
We thank Joe every day.
I'm sorry?
We thank Joe every day.
Every day.
Every day.
We thank God for him every day, right?
I do.
Okay.
Alrighty. I want to also call to everybody, there's a finance committee meeting on November 16th at 6:30 here. Oh, that's Gladys's birthday, if anybody's inclined to remember that, there you go. I just wrote it down, okay. Then we have community relations. Rich asked me to remind everybody that community relations is meeting on the Tuesday, November 24th, prior to the board meeting. He's been doing a fabulous job on this committee, and we all need to attend to find out what our assignments are. Along those lines, I want to thank everybody from the high school. I want to thank them again publicly for coming. We're having representation. That's from all of our schools. So we get to know what's going on everywhere, not just in the big schools. All righty? They have the agendas all lined up. Does anybody have anything else they'd like to discuss before we close the meeting? Seeing none, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, thank God, there you go. Thank you.
There's a button in the back here, you can turn it off. Just keep your finger count about 4 or 5, and that red light should go off. It's that button right here, power.
The one that says
Yeah,
power.
just press it for a few seconds, that light should go off. The one that says power.
It does, after you hold it for a while, it does go up.
Yeah.
You are off air. There's a gentleman next to you. Lexi? We're inviting you to our
Did you all get one?
Yeah. It's an invitation to the induction for.
I'll put it on Debbie's desk.
Hey, Kim.
Hi, John.
I talked to Misty today. She said we were waiting on with fingerprints for this guy. Do you know if we got
What guy? I don't know what
our
you're
science guy?
Give me a name. 2,400 people.
Richard, he's the long-term sub guy.
Okay.
Richard.
I honestly don't know. Melissa would be the one who would know better than I.
The lady that's planning for Menashe while she's out.
Yep.
Her ex-husband just died, so now she's going to be out for a few days. So I'm like,